We always read and hear that the climate and the weather in the world is changing. And I wanted to see if I can use SAP Visual Intelligence to illustrate a positive or negative trend, climate trend. But before I could start illustrating, I needed some data. And therefore I used the European Climate Assessment and Dataset project, which is offering weather information in Europe, some of them going back to the 18th century, for free download. So I downloaded the weather data, worked around with the data a bit, so I brought it into a format where I can query the data very easily and just uploaded it into SAP HANA. So I uploaded into a table called wdata and ended up with something around roughly around 2.9 million records. On top of that wdata table within HANA, I created an analytic view to make the data easily consumable for external tools like Visual Intelligence. So I have in HANA, I have weather information about temperature, about snowfall, about rain, about the sunny days within one period, maximum wind within one day, within one period, the number of tropical nights, the number of cold days, and the number of summer days. I also have the information about the country where this record was taken from, the station, the weather station, or the city where this measurement came from. And I also created some average figures, which you see here on the right, which were calculating the average rain, average temperature, average snow, and so on from the current year or the current period, the current drill down, which we will select using Visual Intelligence. So after I downloaded the data from the project, after I prepared the data within Excel and SAP HANA, I connected Visual Intelligence on top to illustrate the data. And what we see here is the first chart I did, because the first chart is, I was wondering if in Germany the climate or the temperature is developing, so it gets warmer in Germany. And indeed it did. So what you see here on the blue line is the average temperature, and the green line is the running average of the average temperature. And we can immediately see that over the last 30 years, beginning 1980 back to 2011, getting warmer all the time in Germany. So I was wondering, okay, that's only Germany, but how do other European countries look like? So I removed the filter on my country, Germany, and added all the European on some of them even close to Europe, like Israel or Egypt. And I immediately saw that, especially within the last 10 years, starting 2021, the temperature is increasing. So that a bit worried me, and I thought, okay, let's look if the temperature is increasing. Let's look how the rainfall is going. If it's raining more or raining less in Europe. That is illustrated by the next slide. Evolution of the average rain. And this is a pretty impressive graph here, because we see that the rainfall, the average, has dropped, especially within the last 20 years, beginning 1990 within Europe. We do have some country where it's raining very little, which is Nigeria, and we have countries where it's raining a lot, which is Italy, surprisingly. So I was wondering if that trend that apparently Europe is getting warmer and it's raining less, I could also see in other figures provided by the project. So I had a closer look on the number of cold days. A cold day is a day which has less than 10 degrees. And also here I could see that the number of cold days is decreasing over the last 30 years. But how are the tropical nights doing? The tropical night is a night which has to be above 20 degrees Celsius. And if we have a look on that figure, on that graph, we see that vertical lines are really increasing over the last years. But I was also told that the climate change is especially heavy in the Mediterranean area of Europe, area around Spain, Italy, Greece, and also in the area in northern Africa, like Algeria or Egypt. So what I did in the next visualization is I selected all these countries which are around the Mediterranean area and checked their average temperature and used that heat map to illustrate. So on the x-axis you can see the periods, and y-axis you can see the difference. And what you can immediately see with that heat map, that in the last years in the summer times, like in June, in July, and in August, it's getting warmer and warmer and warmer. In 1990 we see still a lot of light colors, but the more up we go in that graph, the darker the green gets, so the warmer the area becomes. I also did another type of these heat maps and looked at the max wind within one day in the Mediterranean area. And here I could see the same effect. The older the data is, down here, area, the lighter the colors are. And the more younger the data is, like up here, the darker the colors are. So the more wind we got in the Mediterranean area. So apparently not only the temperature is rising and the rain is falling, but the wind is rising. So I took one of these Mediterranean countries like Italy to have a more detail. And what you see here is the average cold days, sorry, the summer nights, the sunny days, and the tropical nights. And here we can see that, for example, the sunny days, the average sunny days, really increasing. And also down here, the average summer days. A summer day is a day which has more than 25 degrees Celsius. And on the other side are the number of cold nights decreasing. Cold days is a day which has less than 10 degrees Celsius on the average. So the last visualization I made with visual intelligence on my HANA data, the chart here. And what I illustrate here is the development of the temperature and the cold days in Europe, year months, October, November, and December, for the years of 1970, 1990, and 2010. So you got 2 or 3 columns here, one for 1970, one for 1990, and one for 2010. And each of the boxes here is displaying the average temperature on the x-axis and the number of cold days on the y-axis. And what we can see, if we look on October, apparently in October, the number of cold days is decreasing because we do not have that many dots up here. High value on the y-axis, but therefore the temperatures of the dots on the x-axis are moving to the right. So it's getting warmer, but the number of cold days is decreasing. But then there's a funny effect. So in November, it pretty much looks the same over the last 30 years. And again in December, it looks to me that the trend is changing. While in 1970, more or less all the countries were around the zero temperature average. But then again, in 2010, there are more and more countries which are moving to the left. That means that the average temperature is decreasing. Also, the number of cold days is increasing. While in 1970 we just had one box up here, which is Uzbekistan. In 2010 we got more and more boxes up here. Kazakhstan, Switzerland, for example. So that looks to me an opposite trend to what we saw winter months, it's getting colder, but in summer,